All right, well, should we start then? Okay.
Yes, please do.
Okay. Om Gyanat Mirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshwan Mitanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So today is a very special day. We're having a 3-day festival period. Yesterday was the divine disappearance day of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Gadadhar, Pandit Goswami, two very important gurus in our line. And tomorrow is Ratha Yatra festival. Now we have Nadia Priya joining us from Ukraine. Dandavat.
Dandavat.
There's been a lot of debate in India about whether Ratha Yatra is going to go ahead or not. I heard that the final decision was they will go ahead, but there will be restriction on crowds. How much that will be possible, that remains to be seen. But it's interesting, you know, because when this whole lockdown business first started, one of the first things I thought was, I wonder how they're going to control that in India, because there's such faithful people. You know? So when it comes to their faith, you know, nothing will obstruct their religious practices. So we'll see how things take place tomorrow during the Ratha Yatra.
Didi, I heard that there was some rumor that they're going to have elephants pull the carts. Did you hear that?
I heard a rumor like that as well. Yeah, I don't know. I've been hearing different things. Yeah, we'll just have to wait till tomorrow, I think, to see what really happens. Angela, you're familiar with this Ratha Yatra festival? Or
I am not.
Okay.
Just learning. Thank you.
Okay. Well, it's a very famous festival which takes place once a year in India. Ratha Yatra. Rath means a chariot or a cart. And we have Sulasini Didi with us as well. Dandavat. Rath means a chariot or a cart, and Yatra means a festival. So it means festival of chariots. And it's a very grand festival which takes place once a year in a holy city, small city called Jagannath Puri. And this city is famous because of a beautiful, famous deity called Jagannath. Jagannath is a name for the Lord, or Krishna, which means Lord of the universe. And it's a very particular deity, here we are. Jayadev is kindly showing us some pictures. This is, the blackish deity is Krishna or Jagannath. And then there's also his sister, Subhadra, in the middle. And then on the left is his brother, Baladev. And they're very famous deities in India. One restriction is there, that the priests who run the temple, they don't allow anyone to enter. It's not something that we ourselves agree with. It's not a practice that we agree with. But anyhow, that's just how they've been running things for hundreds of years. They not only that they won't allow Westerners like ourselves, but they won't allow persons of like lower castes within lower social classes within India to enter the temple. So throughout the year, you know, there are so many persons who aren't allowed entrance. And then on tomorrow, the day of Ratha Yatra, there's a very grand procession that's held as these deities are carried from their main temple to another temple. And it's a stretch of a few miles. And I can't say how many, maybe 1 million or more people, but hundreds and thousands of people, they gather. It's like a great opportunity when everyone can have that, what we would call darshan, to come within the vision of the Lord. So people will fly from all over, travel from all over India, and also now in the modern age, people will travel from around the world to participate in this festival. There are people who are, that's why there was concern about holding it this year, because it just tends to get out of control, and there will be people who are injured or even killed because of these massive crowds that gather for the festival. And everybody has a chance also to pull this cart, these chariots, which are carrying the deities. And it'll usually go on throughout a whole day. So it's a very special festival within India. And we are primarily followers of Lord Chaitanya. I'm not sure how much you know. I'm afraid to throw lots of names at you. But you've heard of Krishna, I think.
Yes, please carry on as usual. Again, the names, we just want to learn about the message, right?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
She's one of the attendees. Right before COVID, we did a retreat with there's a big YouTuber named Koi Fresco. He's like a Vedantist and kind of psychedelic and just all around very famous young kid. And we had a retreat, and everyone who came there were, I think, 14 to 17 people. Not a single one of them had ever heard of the Mahamantra or the Hare Krishnas. Not one.
Oh, really?
And so they got their first introduction from us. We did kirtan, and this Koi person wanted us to do the Bhakti part and the kirtan part and help with the mantras and the meaning of the deities and stuff like that. Because he's like a general spiritual, he's like a general doorway guy, bringing all of the thousands of young kids into stuff like Vedanta and Bhakti and yoga and meditation. So she's from the group, and I won't tell too much, but she had a very, very deep experience. For the first time in her life, she felt a certain type of love while chanting specifically the Mahamantra. So she had a very deep experience and felt an immediate, probably previous connection to it. But in this lifetime, not much study yet, because this happened right before the virus thing, or during actually. It's very new.
Okay. Well, Well, today we do have a very specific subject matter. So maybe, as you suggest, I will just speak, and I hope you can get something. But maybe we can plan for another time. We could have something more introductory. That would be, because for today it will be very difficult. It's a very specific day.
It's all destiny that I'm here. I do want to share that years ago I was working in India, and during my trip from Agra to Delhi, the driver suggested that we stopped in this little town because he wanted me to go to the temple where Lord Krishna was born.
Okay, Mathura.
So inadvertently being driven, taken, pushed towards Krishna all my life. So just, I'll take whatever I'm ready for at the time. So no worries. Thank you so much for that.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So we are primarily, I'll just say this much, we're primarily worshippers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's a deity of him here, who we understand to be an avatar of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya's specialty is that he appears with a mood of great magnanimity. Krishna is enjoying within his group, but Lord Chaitanya comes with this mood of distribution. And another a deeper, more esoteric understanding of the nature of Lord Chaitanya is that he is actually Lord Krishna coming in the mood of his female potency, Radharani. So Krishna, under the influence of his divine potency, his female potency, Radharani, comes in this mood of magnanimity and distribution. And one of the primary reasons for that is that Krishna sees that his supreme devotee, Radharani, is experiencing more joy than he is. he's in the position of the supreme enjoyer. He's the recipient of all enjoyment. But she who is supplying the enjoyment, who is supplying the pleasure to him, she's actually getting a greater degree of satisfaction and fulfillment. So it is shown in the highest sense that the highest enjoyment comes actually through giving, because that is our constitutional nature, to give, to dedicate. And this is the principal reason why there's so much suffering in this world, because we misidentify ourselves as being in the position of the Purusha, or the enjoyer, when really by nature we are Shakti, and our tendency is to supply enjoyment, to be enjoyed. And so Krishna sees that my devotee is getting superior happiness than me. And so I want to experience that position. I want to know what it's like to be in the position of a devotee. And so this is another characteristic, specialty of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he's not coming as the Supreme Lord, as he does in other avatars, but he's coming to demonstrate what it means to be, to experience for himself, and also to show to the world what it means to be a devotee of God, to be a devotee of the Lord. And so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his Leela, or his divine pastimes, they principally took place in this holy city of Jagannath Puri. And so Puri is, and this festival of Ratha Yatra is very much connected with Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, or his divine Leela. And it is a very profound, there's this one layer of understanding that it's a magnificent chariot festival where these extraordinary deities are carried from one temple to another. But there's many, there's much deeper layers of understanding behind that. One thing that we can mention here also is that Lord Jagannath, by his nature, there's a strong element of separation in this deity. If we look at these deities, as Jayadev was showing us, if we're frank, Jagannath, he's a little awkward looking. You don't recognize, with his big eyes and big face, you don't recognize the beautiful, slim, curved form of Krishna, that we're more accustomed to seeing, but something of an awkward figure. And it is explained, we've heard our grandfather Guru Srila Sridhar Maharaj explained, it's also described in Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami, that this expression came out as a result of a feeling of separation. That there was one occasion, as Krishna, he in his most original form, he appears as a cowherd boy, and he lives in a very simple, charming village of Vrindavan, but he also has a connection with royalty, and he's actually born into royalty. And so at a certain point, his duty brings him back to his royal life. And so he's, at one point, he's living with so many queens. He has so much wealth and so much opulence at his disposal. However, his close companions there, they can detect that sometimes he's not quite there. Sometimes when he's sleeping, he's calling out the names of different friends from his previous life. And so his queens in particular, who are the closest with him, they're intrigued by this, they want to know more about what was his previous life, like what's going on, where is he really living? He's physically with us, but we feel sometimes that really substantially he's not with us. And so on one occasion, they ask Rohini, who is Baladev's mother, and she previously lived for some time in Vrindavan, and so she knows something about Krishna's previous life. And so on one occasion, some of the queens, they ask Rohini, can you tell us something about what was Krishna's life before? And so then Rohini, she begins some description of Krishna and Balaram's simple forest life in Vrindavan with the Braja gopis and his loving friends and relatives. And meanwhile, Krishna, he's in his room. He was resting, but he awakens and he hears this talk going on. And so he approaches the doorway. And when he hears that description, it awakens this deep feeling of separation and attraction for that. Dandavad, Seamus Vijay, thank you for joining us. And it awakens this deep hankering for his happy, simple life in Vrindavan. So there's this very peculiar contradiction that Krishna is here in Dwarka as a prince in this royal palace surrounded by all this opulence and wealth. So he's in a particular mood. Krishna's in a particular mood in Dwarka. And then he's being reminded, his mind is being pulled to his Vrindavan persona and his attraction to that life. And so it's like a shock. It's like a shock to his system. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said something like, if a train is rushing in a particular direction and then it suddenly stops, then there will be some havoc. There will be some disturbance. If there's like this sudden check. And he also gave the example of an earthquake. That if there's some internal disturbance within the earth, then it manifests in a physical way on its surface. And so in the same way, Krishna, he was in this particular mood of Dwarka, and then there was some sudden check on that, and that caused this kind of like he became his figure, there was an effect on his physical aspect as a result of that. His eyes becoming bigger and his body a little swollen like this. And then sympathetically, that was extended to Baladev and also to Subhadra. And so they're all appearing in this like kind of awkward way. When there's a beautiful article, I can put the link here. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, when Dwaraka and Vrindavan meet, that is Jagannath. So this mood of separation is there. And then this Ratha Yatra festival, it symbolizes, it represents Krishna being brought back to Vrindavan. Krishna leaves Vrindavan as a teenage boy, and he promises all of his friends and his relatives, I will come back very soon. But actually, he doesn't come back. In an eternal sense, he does, because the Leela is cyclic. Everything's revolving. But in a linear sense, he does not come back. And so everyone is left behind in Vrindavan in this deep mood of separation. And then of particular significance is a meeting that they have in Kurukshetra. After something like 100 years of separation, there's as we just had a solar eclipse yesterday. So in the West, everybody gets excited about these things, but traditionally in the Vedic culture, eclipses are considered to be inauspicious. And so traditionally in India, at the time of an eclipse, then persons will gather at a holy site, and they'll engage more intensely in spiritual activity, with the idea that if there should be any great disturbance in the environment, or if one's life should end, then one will be in a good position, putting themselves in a good position for their next life, something like that. So like we hear, of course, from a spiritual perspective, if you're connecting with Krishna, then everything's auspicious. And these considerations are all within the saguna plane, within the worldly mayic plane. So like, for example, Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he chose to appear at the time of an eclipse. because at the time of an eclipse, then persons would generally engage in intense chanting of the Lord's names. So Lord Chaitanya, he liked that when he descended, everybody would be vibrating the name of Hari. So instead of being an inauspicious time, it became the most auspicious time. So anyhow, there was some eclipse that was taking place, and so many persons were gathering at the holy site of Kurukshetra. And so at that time, Krishna, he came there with his grand entourage from Dwarka, and many of the Brajabasis, they came from Vrindavan also. And so there was a meeting after something like 100 years of separation. There was this very intense meeting. And there's some, we've heard Srila Sridhar Maharaj and our Gurudev gives some description of that. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's some description, and also in Srimad Bhagavatam. And what they have explained is that the peculiar nature of that meeting is that instead of there being some relief in that meeting after so long, rather the separation was intensified. Because all of the Brajabasis, they came thinking, we're going to meet Krishna, we'll get some relief. But instead, they saw, this Krishna, this is not the Krishna that we know. This is not the Krishna that we know and we love. He's here surrounded by elephants with all these royal queens and soldiers and servants, and he's wearing this royal dress. What happened to his flute? What happened to his simple cowherd boy dress? What happened to the peacock feather he would wear in his hair? Where is the Vrindavan forest? Where is the Jamuna river? So it's an interesting point, that even the absolute is relative, there's some relativity within the absolute. Even the absolute is dependent upon his associates and his paraphernalia. So Krishna is enhanced by his devotees, by his associates and servitors. So they felt, we're here, Krishna's here, it's the same Krishna, and we are the same, I am the same Radha, this is the same Krishna, but the environment is completely different. So rather than getting some relief, my separation has increased, has reached its zenith point. And for that reason, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he expressed this aspiration that in his final days, he wanted to stay in Kurukshetra, because his consideration was that service is valuable according to its necessity. Just like if somebody offers you a glass of water and you're not thirsty, then okay, it's a polite, nice thing to do, but it doesn't mean that much. But if you're dying of thirst and somebody gives you a glass of water, you're gonna like remember that person to the day that you die. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he told of one it was, I don't remember who it was exactly. It was like a general or a soldier. And he was dying on the battlefield. And somebody asked him, what's your final wish? Can we get you something? And he said, I would really like a glass of water. It makes you think, we may hanker after money or power, position, so on and so forth. But at the time of death, none of those things are very important. Rather, just a simple glass of water may be like the best thing anybody could do for us. So this was the consideration of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, that at Kurukshetra, separation has reached amongst Radharani and the Braja Gopis has reached its zenith point. And so if I can render some small service there, that will be appreciated to the maximum degree. Whatever little service I can do there, it will be greatly appreciated because there's so much necessity for it. And then Srila Saraswati Thakur, he made that radical statement once that everybody knows that Vrindavan is for the shallow thinkers. That the persons of real bhajan, they want to serve in Kurukshetra. And Srila Sridhar said that when he heard that, he felt as if he'd fallen out of the top of a tree, because we're always hearing Vrindavan is the highest place. It's the place of the highest section of liberated souls. And now Saraswati Thakur is expressing this other angle of vision. Oh, only the hollow people, the shallow thinkers, they're attracted to Vrindavan. But the real substantial persons, they want to serve in Kurukshetra. So of course, not that we will childishly, dismiss Vrindavan, but it's a particular sentiment being expressed, which we can appreciate. And this point of necessity, service is valuable according to its necessity. This is what's being highlighted here. And so this mood of Radharani and the Braja Gopis upon meeting Krishna, this is expressed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the Ratha Yatra festival. And it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita how Mahaprabhu, he's in the mood of Srimati Radharani, dancing and chanting in front of Lord Jagannath. And as that's going on, he's chanting various verses in this, ecstatic mood. And so he's seeing like this is Krishna in his Dwaraka aspect. And I am here, Radharani, feeling this separation and desire to meet as we previously met. And at one point he started chanting this one verse, which wasn't a scriptural verse. It came from like a very ordinary, mundane novel, and it's an expression of a young woman lamenting over how she previously met her lover in a particular place, and they had a very wonderful union. And then later they're meeting again in a different environment, and it's simply not the same. And she's hankering for that previous meeting that she had before. And it's just like something from it's something like from a novel, from a common novel. And so Mahaprabhu, he started chanting this verse, and nobody could understand, or most of the persons around him, they could not understand. But okay, Mahaprabhu is inspired to sing this, okay, but they couldn't understand. But with the exception of Srup Damodar and also Rupa Goswami. And so Rupa Goswami, so it's also described how Rupa Goswami, he heard Mahaprabhu chanting that verse, and then when he returned to his home, his hut, his cottage, then he wrote a parallel verse of his own, drawing out the essence of what Mahaprabhu was expressing. And so in that verse, Priyasoham Sahachari Ku Ketcha Militas, I can't remember that verse. But there he's expressing this sentiment in the mood of Radharani. I am the same Radha, you are the same Krishna, we are the same, but the environment is different. And I'm longing for the meeting that we previously had in Vrindavan, on the banks of the Jamuna in the Vrindavan forest, like this. And so Rupa Goswami, so it's described there how Rupa Goswami, he wrote this verse on a palm leaf, and then he tucked it into onto like somewhere on the roof of his thatched hut, and then he went to take his morning bath in the ocean. And then meanwhile, Mahaprabhu, he came. Every day Mahaprabhu would come to visit Rupa Goswami. Rup, Sanatan, Haridas, they all stayed in the same place. And so after Rupa had left, then Mahaprabhu came, he arrived there, and he noticed this palm leaf that was tucked in, and he pulled it out and he read it, and he was astonished. And then Rupa Goswami came back, and there's this very sweet description in Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Mahaprabhu, he took Rupa Goswami on his lap and he slapped him. And he, in like a very affectionate, like a love slap. And he said, how did you know? How did you know what I was talking about? and he asked Swarup Damodar, how is it possible Rupa could understand my heart? And then Swarup Damodar said, only because you must have given him your mercy. That's the only way it would be possible. So, Rupa Goswami, he's the head of our Sampradaya. And this is a significant incident in illustrating like how he understood the inner heart of Mahaprabhu. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapiyena. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sabutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadanti Kam. Who fulfilled the innermost desires of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is Rupa Goswami. So anyhow, Rupa Goswami, he could understand that inner mood in the heart of Mahaprabhu. So this is like this meeting at Kurukshetra, this plays a central role in this Leela, the Ratha Yatra festival, and Mahaprabhu's participation there. This is like one of the pivotal, conceptions which is there. And there's another very beautiful prayer. So Mahaprabhu, he's being taken from his principal temple, which represents Dwarka, and he's being taken to this other temple, which represents Vrindavan. So this is the principal significance of this festival, Krishna being taken from Vrindavan, from Dwarka to Vrindavan. And there's another beautiful prayer there which Gurudev appreciated. Aner Hidoyaman Moraman Vrindavan Mane Vane Ekadui Jane Taha Tomar Paradwai Tobe Tomar Porna Kripa Mani. I'm missing one line. But saying this is also in the mood, Mahaprabhu chanting this in the mood of Radharani, saying that for most people, their mind and their heart are one. But for me, my heart and Vrindavan are one. And if you would place your lotus feet there, then I would consider that to be your full mercy. That would be your complete mercy upon me. So Mahaprabhu is seeing Vrindavan, in the mood of Radharani, he's seeing Vrindavan as in one sense, as a manifestation of his own heart. And so he is inviting the Lord to enter his heart, which is non-different from Vrindavan. And so then it's also significant that on the day before the Ratha Yatra festival, which is today, then this festival of Gundicha Marjan takes place, the cleaning of the temple. The idea being that when you are inviting the Lord to some particular place, then first you have to prepare that place. First you have to clean that place. And similarly, if we are inviting the Lord to enter our hearts, then we must clean our hearts first. We cannot expect that in a contaminated state we can have full revelation of the Lord's presence in our hearts and in our lives. And so that's also a significant pastime of the Lord, which is important in the practice of pure devotion. We understand that there has to first be some purification, and this is something that is mentioned in many places in Mahaprabhu's Shikshashtakam prayers. This is the first thing that is mentioned. This is described as the act of chanting the holy name. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, the consciousness is compared to a mirror which has been covered by dust. And through the purifying potency of chanting the Lord's holy name, then that dust is cleared. And then on that clean platform, something bright and beautiful can develop and be manifest. And so there's also a very beautiful description in Chaitanya Charitamrita of Mahaprabhu personally, leading this very grand cleaning of the Gundicha temple. How describes how he's very, very thorough in his cleaning. He sweeps, and there's like hundreds of people assisting him. He's leading this, and he sweeps twice. Then he washes repeatedly with hundreds of buckets of water. Describes, and he's also cleaning in this very ecstatic mood. And so sometimes he's crying so much in this mood of ecstasy that he's cleaning with his tears. He's washing with his tears. And he's also sometimes with his own cloth, he's cleaning different parts of the temple. So very, very, very beautiful. There's also he's also overseeing how the others are doing, and if he sees someone hasn't been able to collect that much dust, then he gently chides them and encourages them, to do a better job, and pointing out others who have been more successful. And it also mentions there that everybody else's pile of dirt and dust combined did not equal how much Mahaprabhu was able to gather himself. Yeah, very beautiful pastime. So Srila Saraswati Thakur, he's written a wonderful commentary on this Leela, saying that in this Leela, Mahaprabhu's taken the position of a Jagat Guru, of a world Guru, and demonstrating, how we have to clean our hearts before we invite the Lord there. And he also explains how the different types of contaminants that are within the temple, like dirt, sand, straw, they all represent different types of impurities within the heart. Desires for exploitation or renunciation, for power, for fame, tendency to cheat and so on and so forth. You know, these represent all of these different types of anarthas within the practitioner. And one of his comments there that's just coming to mind now is that in Mahaprabhu cleaning repeatedly, he's demonstrating that we may come to a point where we think, oh, I'm free now from all of these things, you know, but they're still there in some subtle way, and they can again, you know, sprout within us, manifest within us. So we have to be very vigilant about these things. So very, very beautiful. And so on this day, traditionally in our temples around the world, we will do deep cleaning of our temples. So I'm fortunate I'm here in our West London temple. So, you know, I did small participation, and everyone here has been from dusk, from dawn, and well, we don't really, it's summer here, it's a very long day, so we don't really have dusk yet. But anyway, all day long, the devotees have been doing very thorough cleaning of the temple, which has been very inspiring. So yes, Gundicha Marjan, and then tomorrow, Ratha Yatra festival. And many beautiful prayers are recorded in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's another, there's not so many, there's a few which are recorded of the prayers that Mahaprabhu chanted. Another one, you know, I mentioned one, and then another one is one of the few verses that is said to be one of Mahaprabhu's own original verses. Naham vipro na chanarapatir napi vaisho na shudro naham varni na chagrihapatir no vanastogatir va kintu prodyan nikila parmananda purnamrita der gopi bartu parakamala yur dasa dasanudasa. Very beautiful verse, and it's an expression of deep surrender. Mahaprabhu is saying that he's listing different classes within the varnashram system, the social caste system of India, and saying, I don't identify with that, I'm not that, I'm not that. I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Shudra, I'm not a Brahmachari, I'm not a Grihasta, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a householder, I'm not a king or a worker, a laborer, and so on and so forth. And we can also extend that to any type of worldly designation, you know, that I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm American, I'm African, or I'm Italian, or whatever it may be. I'm male, I'm female. Also, these are all temporary worldly designations which we've collected from this temporary world. You know, we are spirit soul. So he's saying, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not that. And then I only identify myself as being the servant of that beautiful, sweet Lord of the gopis, you know, of the beautiful damsels of Vrindavan, and who is compared to an ocean of ever increasing fresh ecstasy. You know, that is my only identification. So that is another beautiful prayer that is chanted there. Let me think, anything else I want to add? Any comments or questions or anything from anyone? Very, very high topics. Tomorrow is also very special because it is the day that our grandfather Guru Srila Sridhar Maharshi chose to inaugurate, you know, to officially or unofficially inaugurate the beginning of our math. So it was on the day of Ratha Yatra that he hoisted this flag, marking the beginning of his mission of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math. It was also the day that Srila Sridhar Maharaj chose to give initiation to our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj. So also very, very special for us. It is mentioned as being there's, more famously we hear of this, what is it called? I can't remember. Akshaya Tritiya on the Hindu calendar. It's described as being a good day to start something new. But lesser known is that Ratha Yatra, it is also described as being a good day to begin something. And if you think about it, like it's the day representing Krishna being brought back to Vrindavan to relieve the hearts of his beloved devotees there. What could be a better day to begin something for those who can really appreciate these higher things. There's one comment of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur where he says, our life's goal is to give some relief to the residents of Vrindavan who are suffering in separation since Krishna left Vrindavan for Mathura. He describes that as our life's goal. For us, this is all something very abstract, but for those who are awake in that plane, this is something of vital importance. They're feeling that in a very burning way in their heart. They're living in that consciousness with those elevated souls. So, and then we square that up, or I square that up where I'm living, all the petty things that I'm concerned with. And it's a real wake-up call. So, and for many reasons, a very, very important day for us tomorrow. And if anyone wants to go through those chapters, they're in the Madhya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think chapters 14 and 15 or something like that. Yeah, it's like chapter 14 and 15 of the Madhya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. If anyone wants to go through, very, very beautiful descriptions there. And there's also a description of this like play that goes on between Mahaprabhu and Jagannath. There's one description how at one point Lord Jagannath, nobody can move him. He suddenly becomes extremely heavy and nobody can move him. And then Mahaprabhu goes and very effortlessly, he's able to move him along. And then there's another description of how Mahaprabhu is like kind of examining in the mood of Radharani, examining Krishna. And so he's sometimes dancing, and then he'll stop moving forward, and then Jagannath, he will also stop. And nobody can move him until Mahaprabhu continues. And the King Prataparuja, of course, he's very, devoted to Mahaprabhu, and so he's ensuring that Mahaprabhu has his space, he's not disturbed. And there's a description also of different rings of devotees that form, like there's 2 or 3 different rings that form around Mahaprabhu to protect him from the crowds. So very beautiful, very charming description. Okay, well, that's all that comes to mind right now.
Didi, I don't know if you want to speak about this, but You know, Gadadhar Pandit's disappearance day was yesterday, and I'm always very attracted to the story of Gadadhar Pandit and Pundarik Vidyanidhi.
Yes.
You might want to say that's
Yes.
a very instructive story for all of us, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I was wondering, you know, should I say something about Bhakti Vinod and Gadadhar? And I thought, oh, maybe it will be too much. But yeah, we have to say something also about yesterday, because yesterday was also such an important day. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he is one of the pioneers in our line who revitalized Mahaprabhu's movement in the modern age. So very, very important figure for us. He was just very like brief remembrance. He appeared as a government magistrate in Bengal. I mean, he was employed by the British government as a government magistrate, and so he was very well positioned to spread the message of Mahaprabhu, and most importantly, to represent the dignity of Mahaprabhu's line, because at the time, Mahaprabhu's line was being horribly misrepresented by many persons who were practicing in various degraded ways. And so the good section of society, they became hateful of the Vaishnavas. And it was kind of seen that the bums of society, they joined Mahaprabhu's movements. And so Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he just performed inconceivable service. He wrote over 100 books and half a dozen languages, you know, English, Bengali, Sanskrit, Hindi, Tamil, Persian. He wrote in a variety of different styles in order to appeal to different audiences. He wrote poetry. He wrote more like he wrote texts that would appeal more to the scientifically minded Western persons. He wrote texts for more, you know, Indian minded persons. He just covered such a wide spectrum of you know, classes within society. And he also he spoke extensively. He gave many lectures. You know, he attracted you know, educated and you know, righteous persons, pious persons within society. He sent the first book about the teachings of Mahaprabhu to the Western world, to a university in Canada, McGill University. And then finally, his greatest gift was that he gave his son. You know, he prayed to the Lord, please send me one of your own. Send me one of your own who can really complete my mission. And so as a result, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared as his son. And he was the great revolutionary who was able to more extensively establish Mahaprabhu's mission within India, and then also beginning the movement into the West. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he's, you know, his contribution is just, you know, incomparable. It is so unique and so valuable, so important. None of us would be here today if it wasn't for him. You know, he also predicted, he said, within 50 years, we will see Western persons coming to India and chanting and dancing along with the Indian devotees. He predicted that. And at the time, that seemed impossible. And even our Gurudev, he said that when he joined our temple, he heard that for the first time. And he thought to himself, oh, this is impossible. This must be a bit of an exaggeration. Maybe at some point, but within 50 years. And then he expressed his joy that he became a living witness to that, you know, and it all happened in such a short space of time. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is so important for us. And then also it is the day of disappearance of Gadadhar Pandit, who is one of the most intimate associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chinmoy Prabhu, he's particularly mentioning this one very nice pastime. Gadadhar, his nature is very reserved. He's described as being of a very shy, extremely renounced nature, reserved nature. He's somebody who, like, people would take advantage of because he was so humble and so accommodating. There's one incident in Puri where there's this one obnoxious visitor who wants to show off some knowledge that he has or something that he's written, and nobody will listen to him. Everybody sends him away. But when he goes to Gadadhar, he can't say no. he feels, oh, I cannot. He's an honorable person, and I don't want to listen to this, but I can't say no to him. And so he tolerates, feeling some necessity of respect. You know, he tolerates and he listens and listens. But what's very interesting about that pastime is that by the influence of Gadadhar Pandit's association, that person ended up taking shelter of him in the end. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he commented on that pastime that the true meaning of tolerance, it came out, which is a very, very nice point. You know, like this is an essential aspect of tolerance, that we will tolerate some disturbance from someone with the expectation that they'll be able to grow. Like, as a result of our accommodating them, they'll be able to get through that and grow and progress to something else. You know, it's like a very optimistic application of tolerance. So anyhow, there was this one occasion in Navadvip when there was one Vaishnav who came kind of undercover, Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He was a very wealthy Vaishnav. And, you know, most of Mahaprabhu's devotees, they were relatively poor. You know, they weren't engaged in so much worldly activity. They were just making ends meet and giving the maximum, you know, energy to their devotional cultivation. But a few of them, they were also wealthy in a worldly sense. And so Pundarik, he was in that category. And so on one occasion, he came to visit Navadvip. And at that time, Navadvip was like a center of learning within India. And there were, you know, there was a lot of wealth there. And so, and the Ganges, the river, the Ganga, I'll say Ganga because Chintamani, she won't like if I say Ganges. I saw, maybe it was on one of your videos, you were upset that people say Ganges, so I'll say Ganga. So the Ganga's there, and so sometimes rich people, they would have like their holiday home in Navadvip. They'd have a second home in Navadvip. And so Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he was like that. And so he had his principal residence. I can't remember the name, maybe Chinmoy Prabhu remembers. But then he had another home in Navadvip. And so on one occasion he came to visit. And nobody knew him there except for Mukunda. Mukunda came from the same village as Pundarik. And so Mukunda knew who he was and knew what a great devotee he was. And so Mukunda, he asked Gadadhar one day, oh, Gadadhar, you want to meet a Vaishnav, you want to meet a new Vaishnav. And Gadadhar, he was very happy. And yes, I would love to. And so Mukunda took him. And as soon as they entered the quarters of Pundarik, Gadadhar was quite taken aback because he saw Pundarik. He was not hiding his wealth. You know, he was dressed in very opulent silken clothes, and he had this long curling hair, like well oiled hair. He had a beard, and he had a pipe with some very expensive tobacco that he was.
It was a hookah. I think he had a hookah.
Okay, I don't know the difference between a hookah.
Oh, like that big thing they smoke in Persia or whatever. It's like a hookah with a tube, like a bong almost.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Must have been a hookah. And so he was smoking. Our Gurudev, he mentioned the exact name, the type of tobacco that he was smoking. So it was very expensive and it had a very sweet scent. And then he was like lounging on this very comfortable bed with these, you know, fancy pillows and coverings, and he had a servant there who was fanning him. And so Gadadhar, he was not accustomed to meeting Vaishnavas like this. So he was very surprised and a little uncomfortable, and thinking to himself, oh, you know, how can I get out of this? This is a little awkward. and so there were some, you know, pleasantries exchanged, and Mukunda introduced them to each other. And Gadadhar's thinking, oh dear, what did I get myself into? And then Mukunda, Pundarik asked him, because Mukunda was known for having a beautiful singing voice, and so Pundarik asked him, will you chant something? And then Mukunda, he started to chant this very beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Aho bakiyam stanakalukutam jighamsaya payavad apyasadvi lebegatin dachi uchitam tatonyam tam vadayalam sharanam rajema, is spoken by Uddhava. And Uddhava, he's appreciating this incident when the demoness Putana, she came with poison smeared on her breast to try to kill baby Krishna. But Krishna, he was so merciful that in her next birth, he gave her the position of a nursemaid, because he considered, well, she wanted to feed me. You know, she came in the aspect of a nurse, so I will give her that type of service. So the verse is concluding, you know, how merciful is Krishna? Who will I find who is more merciful than Krishna? What more merciful shelter could there possibly be than Krishna? Kam va dayalam sharanam vrajema. Very beautiful verse. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he heard this, and immediately, you know, complete devastation took place within him. And he fell onto the ground. He started rolling on the ground, tearing at his clothes, tearing at his hair. You know, what is the use of all this opulence, this dress, you know, this comfortable, you know, surroundings? I do not have connection with my Lord. You know, he began expressing this mood of separation. And Gadadhar, he was completely astonished to see that, and he also felt very terrible within himself. You know, he felt, oh, I judged him. You know, from his external appearance, I took him to be a Vishai, you know, to be a materialistically minded person. But he is such a great Vaishnava at heart. So, you know, that is there as a significant teaching in this pastime. And so anyhow, Gadadhar, he considered to himself, you know, how can I rectify myself of this offense? And so he thought, well, I haven't received a mantra, I haven't taken diksha, initiation from anyone yet. So if I ask him to accept me as his disciple, then any offense will be forgiven, because the guru is like the father, and the father does not accept any offenses from their son. And this is of course very significant, because we understand Gadadhar to be the manifestation of Radharani and Gaura Leela, and Pundarik is Rishabhanaraj, the father of Radharani. So that is very significant. You know, their eternal relationship, you know, was manifest through this exchange. And his Vidyanidhi means something like a reservoir of knowledge, of vidya, and it's mentioned that Mahaprabhu used to call him Premanidhi. It is in one of our morning arati songs. It is mentioned like that. It's Premanidhi. And it's also mentioned that when Pundarik was approaching Navadvip, then at one point Mahaprabhu just suddenly started calling out Bap, Bap, which means father, and nobody could understand. You know? So very, very sweet pastimes. Nilamboditate tada Nilamboditate tada swaviraha kepambitam bandhavam Srimad Bhagavati Kathamadidaya Sanjivayam Vatiya Srimad Bhagavatam Sarasvanayanashu Payanai Pujayam Goswami Prabhupada Mad Ekagati. This is Srila Sridhar Maharaj's most extraordinary verse, you know, describing what was the supreme service of Gadadhar Pandit. Goswami Maharaj, he told, you know, there was that famous incident when Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they had this discussion that went on for hours, all in Bengali. And one of Swami Maharaj's disciples, maybe it was Achyutananda, was there and couldn't follow anything, but he saw like how animated they were and how involved they were, and he was eager to know. And so later he asked Srila Swami Maharaj, you know, what was it you were talking about? And Srila Swami Maharaj told him, if I were to tell you, you would faint. And so there was one occasion when Goswami Maharaj, he approached Srila Sridhar Maharaj one afternoon, and Gurudev was also there, and he asked him, you know, he was very curious also, and he asked them, what are one of those things that would make one faint? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he was a little puzzled. What is he talking about? But Gurudev, he got it, and he explained, you know. And then they had some exchange between the two of them, Gurudev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And then Gurudev, he suggested, give your Gadadhar pranam, you know, this verse. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gave that verse in some explanation, and then Goswami Maharaj said he staggered out and had to lean against a wall outside. This is the most extraordinary verse. It is describing how Mahaprabhu in his later years, in these last 12 years, when he entered into this very deep mood of separation, then he was particularly relishing the mood of separation that Radharani experiences from Krishna, and so essentially he's experiencing separation from his own self, you know, swaviraha. This is mentioned in the verse, and how it is said, you know, Srup Damodar, Ramananda Rai in particular, they were very close with Mahaprabhu at that time and would support him, give him nourishment and solace in those moments of intense separation. they would chant the right verse or sing the right song, like that, to enhance or to give comfort to him. And so Gadadhar Pandit, he also played this very significant role at that time. And this verse is describing that, you know, that Mahaprabhu, he would regularly go to visit Gadadhar, and at his temple, Gadadhar stayed at the Tota Gopinath temple, which is close to our temple in Puri. And when he would visit, then Gadadhar would usually recite Bhagavatam to him. And it was like he was supplying these verses. In this verse, it is described in the way that a friend might supply wine to someone who's been brokenhearted. You know, if someone who's had their heart broken in love, then their friend might give them some alcohol to drown their sorrows. You know, so in that way, Gadadhar Pandit was supplying the wine of the verses of Bhagavatam to give some relief to his beloved friend in this pain of separation. And then Sadasva Shupayanai Pujayam. And Gadadhar, you know, he's chanting these verses, he's reading these verses from Bhagavatam to give relief to Mahaprabhu seated before him. And Gadadhar himself is also feeling this great intensity of feeling to see his most beloved friend before him in such a condition. And so as Gadadhar is reading as these verses of Bhagavatam, tears are falling from his eyes, you know, like flower offerings to the page on the pages of Bhagavatam. You know, his tears, they are like doing pujayan, like doing puja. Most extraordinary verse. And then, you know, who is Gadadhar? You know, Gadadhar is Radharani. You know, who is Mahaprabhu? Krishna in the mood of Radharani, experiencing separation from his own self. You know, this, if you try to think about it too much, your mind starts to explode. You know, it is the most extraordinary expression. So this is, you know, this was the supreme service that Gadadhar rendered to Mahaprabhu in that time of greatest need. Okay, well, I don't want to keep you all captive. Maybe we'll end there. Thank you all for your wonderful company, and hope we can keep meeting.
Vishakha Devi Dasi ki jai.
Yeah. So beautiful.
I mean, I'm down to keep listening if she's down to keep sharing. I mean, unless she needs to go for self-care, like she needs to take care of herself, like, you know, do something else or whatever. Like, I'm like, wait, keep going.
Oh, you can see.
It's nice to be captured by Harikatha.
Yeah. All day.
All day, every day. We'll have to watch you on YouTube. Do these get posted somewhere?
Yes, they get posted on the Bhakti Connect YouTube channel.
We'll make sure we subscribe then.
Yeah.
I already am. I was going to say also, there's a bunch of ones where you're reading that part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Very beautiful reading of the book. You guys have a whole series on YouTube that we could maybe point people to.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate because every morning I have the opportunity to. It's just a wonderful wonderful way to start your day. Going through Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Here it is, the channel.
You can do this.
And then the Sarupini, I did not acknowledge you. Very happy to see you here with us. She's also also okay here. Okay, well, I'll sign out here. Thank you all so much for your kindness, your encouragement, your good association, and look forward to next time.
Hare Krishna.
Dhanyavad.
Jai Shri
Dhanyavad.
Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Bye.